I am Sharika Wilson. I am the project lead at the Caribbean School of Data, and I will be your host for the next hour or so. All right, so really excited to have everybody here. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. Um, Everybody is muted now, and we're going to ask that unless you are sharing, that you just remain on mute. Our presenters, and we have a wonderful, wonderful lineup. Our presenters will leave time at the end of their section to ask questions. We'll also have a Q&A at the end. So if you have something that is pressing, drop it in the chat during a presentation. I'll ask the presenters to answer at the end of their section. Otherwise, we'll have time for Q&A at the end of everybody's remarks. All right. For those not familiar with Zoom, I know we used to, being able to clap when we want to and to interject comments and enthusiasm. And I'm not going to stop you from doing that today either. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you will see you have the ability to clap, to share emojis or emoticons, just to show your appreciation for things that you might be hearing. So just to make sure that everybody is with me, can I just maybe see a round of applause to the emoticons right now, to the emojis? Just want to make sure it's working and that folks are with me. Nice. I'm seeing some. All right. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So like I said, we are here for the CSOD Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Samir Yunus Foundation Digital Skills and Advocacy Program. All right. And so what you're going to be hearing today is just why this program is so important, why it's so impactful. I know for some of the students gathered here, you've already maybe started with the courses, but I want you to be able to understand and walk away from today with just the broader scope of what is that you are part of. I'm going to pause here now just to acknowledge some of our speakers and partners that we have gathered with us. So we have Dr. Maurice McNaughton, who's director of the Center of Innovation at the Mona School of Business and Management. He's also one of the principals for the Caribbean School of Data. We have Mr. Warren McDonald, who is the chairman of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Samir Yunus Foundation. We have Mr. Bobby Adelson, who is a public affairs officer at the U.S. Embassy here in Kingston, Jamaica. We have Mrs. Samantha Chantrell, who wears many hats. Today she'll be here as the managing director of Respect Jamaica. And we have Mr. Tyreek Welsh, who was one of the facilitators of our pilot program and is here to share some remarks with you. And I just also want to acknowledge Slash Roots Foundation. They're another of our partners, but they are unfortunately unable to offer remarks today. But I just wanted to acknowledge them as well. All right. So I'm not going to talk too long because I know you're here to hear from everybody that I just mentioned. You're here to hear about the wonderful lineup that we just spoke about, right? And so the first person I'm going to turn you over to, I'm going to just sort of, my screen would work. All right, here we go. So just so you have line of sight into what is going to be happening today, like I said, we're going to be hearing from all of these folks, right? And they have so much to share, to tell you why such a program is important for a time like this. And the first person that we have is Dr. Maurice McNaughton. If I was to read his entire CV, we'd be here all day, and I know we don't have all day. So I'm just going to call out a few things about him, and then we're going to jump right into it. All right. So Dr. McNaughton has over 20 years of senior management and leadership experience in the planning, direction of enterprise-level information technology and organizations. He holds a PhD from Georgia State University, a Master of Science from Phillips International Institute, and a Bachelor of Science from the University of the West Indies, the Trinidad campus. He's been a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona, since 2001. And because he has so much free time on his hands, he also just has a number of professional and just national service affiliations. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to name a few, he was a member of the Economic Growth Council, Diaspora Task Force. He was a member of the Board of Commissioners for the Overseas Examination Council. He was the chairman of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, the ICT Committee, and he was also part of the Board of Directors of the Hart College of Innovation and Technology. And so Dr. McNaughton is going to come to you today with the perspective of the Caribbean School of Data and also in his role at the Mona School of Business and Management. And you're going to hear him just share remarks about why this program is so timely. You know, he's going to talk to you a little bit about we're not going into the fourth industrial revolution. We're not going into the digital age. We are here. And so this program is important because we are here and we are now, and it is incumbent on all of us to be ready. All right, so Dr. McNaughton, without any further ado, I'm going to just turn over to you.
Thank you very much, Sharika. Greetings, everyone. Great to be here. Great to see you all online. Let me just start by acknowledging all of our partners in this important initiative and their representatives. So, Mr. Bobby Adelson from the U.S. Embassy. Thank you, Bobby, and your team for continuing to support and fund these important interventions. Mr. Warren McDonald from the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Samir Yunus Foundation. Thanks again, Warren. We've been here before. In fact, I have fond memories of our very first pilot cohort of the Caribbean School of Data that we did with the JCC Samir Yunus Foundation. Then we had a small cohort of about 11 students that really helped us to fine-tune the program. And it was a great pleasure when they all graduated. So thank you for the continued support. I mean, it feels like almost a decade ago when we had that pilot, Warren. Since then, COVID has happened and the entire world has changed, but it underscores the importance of these kinds of digital initiatives. I want to acknowledge also Samantha, Mrs. Samantha Chantrell. Hi, Samantha. Thank you for being a strategic partner, even though I struggle to keep up with your pace, but you've also been quite key to our initiatives over the past year and looking ahead over the next year or so. And the rest of the team, the facilitators, and most importantly, the students that have opted to join this program. Again, let me say it's a genuine pleasure to be having this launch. COVID-19 has probably been the greatest adversity that many of us, those of you who are a little bit older like myself, and many of you who are much, much younger, but it's probably been one of the biggest adversities that we've all had to contend with in our lifetimes. And many institutions, not the least of which are educational institutions, such as the University of the West Indies, which I'm a part of, and the Caribbean School of Data, we've had to come to grips with the challenges of continuing to do education and training in an environment. And we're forced to shift to things like virtual school, online learning, blended learning, and the digitization of our delivery systems. But COVID it has been many things, but one of the things that it has served to do is underscore the critical importance of digital literacy, both as individuals, as institutions, building our digital capabilities, and as a country and a region. And so it has emphasized for us the critical importance of programs like this that help our young people to acquire and exercise the kind of digital literacy and data skills that help you to be competitive in today's economy. And let me just go ahead and just share a few slides and talk through that a little bit, because that rationale for the Caribbean School of Data and its programs is quite important. Sharika, do I have the ability to share my screen? Yes, I think so. Okay, so let me know when you can see my screen. Just want to talk through this, some of these ideas very briefly. So listen, COVID has forced, as I said, many of our institutions to undergo this digital transformation. But the reality is that the digital economy was already here. I mean, COVID really just serves to amplify the urgency of being digital. But it was already here. And we know this, right? Because much of our social and economic activities have become digital. The way we interact socially, I mean, social media dominates many of our day-to-day interactions. Commercially, we see now with the pandemic and the lockdowns that all of our businesses, not just the KFCs and the Burger Kings in our restaurants, but the Pan Chicken Man have to now be using digital delivery systems. And in all of this transition to the digital economy, data has become such a critical factor of wealth creation. And people now refer to it as the new oil, right? The oil that fuels the digital economy. So that data literacy and digital skills broadly are no longer optional. They're no longer a privilege for the what we might refer to as the digital haves. But we have to bridge that digital divide and make sure that all of our citizens, especially our young citizens, are digitally literate and have the capacity to function in a digital society, right? So that this transformation that we call digital disruption is only a problem, right? It creates great opportunities, but it's only a problem if we don't have access to digital facilities, such as the internet, if we don't have a culture of being digital. And then that leads to what we call digital poverty. So we move from the traditional kind of poverty to what we refer to as digital or data poverty. And you know, that's something that we have to work very hard to avoid, because with the emerging digital economy, those of our citizens who lack digital skills will then lack the ability to possess and manage what we call digital information capital. Again, that's the new source of wealth, right? Just as the Googles and the Facebooks and the Netflixes and those digitally born companies that have built their wealth from harnessing and exploiting data, right? So if we exist in this world and we don't have the ability to not only work with, but also create this kind of digital information capital, then we become relegated to what you might call second-class digital citizens. So it's incredibly important, and programs like the Caribbean School of Data are quite important in facilitating this digital transformation, this conversion to be digital. And you know, when we talk about digital literacy and data skills, we're not talking here just about the ability to jump on a computer and go into social media and post things on Instagram, because many of us can do that. But digital literacy is multidimensional. And when we design our programs and our curricula and our courses, we're looking at addressing all of these 5 domains of digital literacy. So, you know, what we call information and data literacy, the ability to work with data, the ability to use information effectively for decision making. That's absolutely critical. We talk about the ability to use digital tools to communicate and collaborate online. The future workspace, not the traditional workplace, but the future workspace is going to be one where you interact with and collaborate with and communicate with your colleagues and your peers in a digital environment using digital tools. And that's a global workspace. So we have to have those skills. We have to have the ability to create digital content, whether it's blogs, whether it's websites, whether it's writing programs. And then, of course, operating in that environment, we have to understand how to be safe, how to be good digital citizens, and ultimately how to harness and use digital tools to solve problems and create value opportunities for ourselves. So, you know, it's very important that we understand digital literacy as comprising all of these domains and all of these dimensions, you know, not just traditional skills. I mean, so for us, we focus on building out these digital skills because we think that they are, you know, they are at the heart of creating citizens that have much greater employability opportunities. And so one of the things for us and working with partners like the JCC and the Summer Units Foundation and others is that we don't focus on persons just acquiring skills to say, now I know how to do X, right? So knowledge, the skills are important, but combining those with the right attitudes, connecting you to the right networks of opportunities is what creates the employability opportunities. And that is actually the focal sort of emphasis and mandate of programs like this. We believe that it's important to connect you to, for instance, mentors, right? And you'll hear as you go through the program about some of the exit pathways. So having completed a 12-week program, we look at opportunities around pairing you with professional mentors who can help you to not only understand the world of professional work, but also help to connect you to some opportunities. And one of the key things about a partner like the Chamber of Commerce, Warren, is that we hope to also be able to plug into a network of prospective employers that can create internships, that can create, again, mentorship opportunities, that can create employment opportunities. So it's a whole community that you join when you join the Caribbean School of Data. And we look forward to you becoming a part of this larger community. I have to pause very briefly to just have a shout out for our facilitators. From inception, when we designed the learning delivery model for the CSOD, we identified facilitators as being an absolutely critical role. And originally, we designed this in a physical world when we would have physical meetings, Warren, like the ones that we had down at the JCC offices when we were doing the pilot. And we've obviously, like the rest of the world, had to pivot to a fully virtual delivery, but this role still remains critical. And those weekly gatherings that you have in a digital space with your facilitators is such a critical part of the program. And again, just want to shout out to the facilitators that are currently online. And they're going to be your technical guide and also your social guide and mentor. Again, kudos to them for signing up and volunteering to be a part of this program. And you'll hear much more in our orientation sessions about the scope of the foundational program that takes you through 5 courses, 16 modules in 12 weeks. And it's a hectic pace, but I think those of you that have already started have begun to enjoy this. So look forward to having you on this journey. And just want to end by saying welcome to the Caribbean School of Data and look forward to the engagement with you over the next 12 weeks. So back over to you, Sharika.
So thank you so much, Dr. Manhattan. I know that you have to leave us shortly, unfortunately. Dr. Manhattan also wears many hats. So what I would do here is just to pause to see if there are any questions for him before I allow him to change hats. All right, I'm not seeing any in the chat, Dr. Manhattan. It looks like you were, okay, Ishmael has one. Go ahead, Ishmael. You can either share in the chat or.
Or recertification. Yeah, absolutely. So you'll see that the Mona School of Business and Management is one of the core partners of the Caribbean School of Data. And so persons that successfully complete the program will in fact be issued with a certificate of achievement from the Mona School of Business and Management, which, as everyone should know by now, is the premier business school in the Caribbean. So that will be part of your certification. But again, let me just emphasize, Ishmael, for us, this is more than just getting a certificate and saying, okay, well, I now have this. I mean, that's obviously quite important. And we have this policy of no student left behind. So we encourage everyone to go the full course and complete the program. You have quizzes at the end of each course and requirements for certification. And so that's important, but I think perhaps more important is going to be your ability to exercise those knowledge and skills and newfound attitudes that you will have gained from this program to be able to take advantage of one of those opportunity pathways, whether it's mentorship, internship, and hopefully employment opportunities or entrepreneurship opportunities that it creates. Sorry for the long-winded response, Sharika, but I think that's quite important. So thanks for the question, Ishmael.
All right, great. Okay, so Ishmael has one more for you, Dr.
Right, so
Manon.
you're asking about the what's next. So yeah, Ishmael, you're going to hear a lot more about that. But as I said, one of the things that we're seeking to define, and it's a little bit of a work in progress, but you'll see, for instance, that one of our graduates from the pilot program, I don't know if Kayan is joining us, Sharika, but she has spoken sort of fondly about how she's been able to leverage much that she's learned from this program. But we're trying to design, Ishmael, those deliberate pathways that take you through to either additional learning opportunities through certification, professional certification, mentorship, pairing you with a professional from the digital world, and again, hopefully with the help of partners like the Chamber of Commerce, plugging into the employers network. So it is not a one and done. And those that want to take advantage of them will have follow-on opportunities. Okay.
All right. So thanks, Ishmael, for the questions. And thank you, Dr. Manon, for your remarks. So as folks would have heard, Dr. Manon spoke about digital citizens, right? And the importance of what that means. And as I said at the beginning, this is a digital skills and advocacy program, right? Because it's important that we all have access. So being able to access and navigate the digital space and the digital economy is also a human rights issue. And so we're thinking about it from that perspective as well. We don't want anyone left behind. And we know, as we've seen with inequities pop up in other spheres of society, we want to make sure that everybody has access to that space. So thank you, Dr. Manon, for talking about the importance of that as well. The next speaker that I am going to bring on also has quite the CV. So Mr. McDonald, I hope you don't mind that I'm not going to share your entire CV with the group today, but I'm sure as they're listening to you, they will hear, they will get a sense of just your storied professional background and experience. But just to share a few highlights, Mr. Warren McDonald, as you can see here, is the current chairman of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Samir Yunus Foundation. He has also been a JP, or Justice of the Peace, and lay magistrate for the parish of Kingston for the past 30 years. He served as an executive on the JCC for 15 years, was his president from 2014 to 2016, and since 2016 has been the chairman in this role that I named before. He served as chairman on the Jamaica Customs Advisory Board. He has served as a director of Street Law Caribbean. He was in 2016 appointed by the Prime Minister, Holness, to serve as a member of the CARICOM Commission. He was formerly the CEO and managing director of Berger Paints, and before that, the CFO of that company. He was on the board of BNS. I also know that he was on the board of the Portmore Community College. He's also very active in the higher ed space, and I could go on and on. He's a graduate of the University of the West Indies. He's also a fellow of the Chartered Accountants of Certified Accountants, the Chartered Association, my apologies, of Certified Accountants of the United Kingdom. And I'm going to maybe pause there so that you will have some time to hear from him in his role as chairman of JCC-SYF Youth Foundation, as to why this initiative is so important at this time, as to why the focus on digital skills and advocacy, and to what, sort of his hope for this program and for you all is. So without any further ado, Mr. McDonald, welcome to the floor.
Thank you, Sharika. I'm very happy to be here this morning to offer a few remarks on behalf of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce Samir Yunus Foundation. I'm very fortunate this morning speaking behind Dr. McNaughton, He has demonstrated his lecturing capacities. He has certainly contextualized this whole program, the need for it, and how we're going to try and achieve or to contribute to this process. So I will try and focus more on the role of the foundation. And as I said, we're very pleased and proud that is our foundation to be partnering in this U.S. Embassy-sponsored public affairs program, which is coordinated by the Caribbean School of Data. I think we have Respect Jamaica as partners too, and of course, change makers who are working behind the scenes to get this thing together. So I think we have an excellent team, and the objective as set out is to, broaden and introduce digital literacy to young youth as much as possible. Getting into the foundation, over 40 years ago, responding to the mix of challenges that were identified as impeding the progress of many young people in the most depressed communities, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce formed the Inner City Development Committee. This committee trained thousands of inner city youth in several areas, human and interpersonal relationships, family life, anger management, conflict resolution, community leadership, while enabling participants to secure employability skills. So over the past 40-odd years, the Chamber has trained thousands, just estimated close to 4,000 inner city youth in developing certain skills, certain employability skills to open up economic opportunities to them. The JCC evolved and took the decision some time ago to consolidate all its civic affairs, all its civic engagement activities under the umbrella of the JCC Samuel Eunice Foundation. This foundation is a non-profit, non-political, non-denominational institution registered under the relatively new 2013 Charities Act. This designation, apart from the tax relief which it affords, allows greater scope for engagement with domestic business communities as well as with potential international partners. So the structure was changed about a couple of years ago, and the foundation is a limited company, limited by a guarantee. It's headed by a board of directors. All of the board members are from the executive of the Jamaica Chamber, and it includes the president, the current first vice president. So there is this close link between the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce itself and its foundation. And remember that the chamber has over 200 members of different sizes, small business to very large companies. So the intention there is to provide some, I noted a question early on about what's after. Intention here is that there would be some link to the private sector and to aid in securing economic employment for graduates. Our mission statement, empowering the citizens of our nation to create harmony and to enhance the quality of lives in the community they live. This embodies the main objectives of the foundation. Over the years, the foundation has worked hard to achieve these goals, hosting youth leadership training programs for potential youth leaders of inner city communities, as well as members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Now, this is something that the Chamber had recognized, the distrust of youth with the police force. And one of the things that the Chamber did was to invite members of the JCF to participate in the training programs along with the inner city youth. And this develops camaraderie between parties and of course, trust, which is essential for community policing. You know? So this is an area that we focused on over the years. The foundation's, as mentioned, main activity may therefore be summarized as youth empowering initiatives that enable youth to improve the quality of life for themselves and their families and to assist in the development of communities in which they live. And here we go back to the basic reason why we are so enthused about this program, because we think it increases employability and the economic opportunity of the youth through digital literacy and data skills training. So we are 100% supportive of programs of this nature, and we will certainly look to work in the future with the Mona School of Business and any other entity with similar goals. The foundation recognizes the role we must play in engaging our young people to be the best they can be. This will contribute to Jamaica becoming a better place to live, to work, to do business, and raise families. So, once again, we of the foundation are extremely pleased to participate in this launch, the Digital Skills and Advocacy Program, with the aim of training 80 youth, at-risk youth, in secured employment skills and to be able to be positive contributors to their communities and to Jamaica. So I'd just like to say, as mentioned earlier, that we're very happy to be partners in this program, and we look forward to the success and future programs of this kind with Mona School of Business and other partners. Thank you, Sharika.
Thank you for those remarks, Mr. McDonald. And just, folks, can I see some applause? Can I see some? I just want to make sure, you know, the emojis and emoticons are still working, right? You just heard from Mr. McDonald about just the immense work that the foundation has been doing, over 4,000 young people, and really the focus on making sure that they're employable. So employability and access, right? And that's what we're talking about today, because they go hand in hand. The importance of access to the spaces, the importance of access as the economy moves and shifts, that we're not leaving anybody behind, right? And the work that they've been doing, not just in the digital space, but within communities, the community building, working to build bridges across different groups, whether that's the police and our young people, and just really, really focused on youth empowerment, right? So it's not coming in to give, it's really, or I should say, it's not coming down to save anybody, but it's really honing the skills that are already there and opening the doors to make sure that everybody has access. So really thank you for sharing the work of the foundation, Mr. McDonald. As you said, this is not your first rodeo with us, and it won't be the last. So we're excited to have the JCC Summer Units Foundation on board again. So really, really want to thank you. Okay. All right. Are there any pressing questions for him right now, or can folks hold on till the end of the? All right. So I'm going to move into our next speaker in the interest of time. And so our next speaker is Mr. Robert Bobby Adelson, and he is representing, so as you heard Mr. McDonald talk about, our funding partner, the U.S. Embassy here in Kingston, Jamaica. And, you know, Bobby, as you're coming on, I know when a lot of us think about the embassy, we think about visa and we think about travel, but it's so much more, right? And so we're really going to be looking to hear just about why this initiative was important for the U.S. Embassy to get behind. And so, folks, let me also just pause now to introduce him, right? So he is Mr. Robert Bobby Adelson, is a foreign service officer with the U.S. State Department in Public Affairs, and he's also Public Affairs Officer of the U.S. Embassy in Kingston, Jamaica. All right. Before that, he was the deputy spokesperson of the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs, and before that, he was a special assistant to the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs. He's been on assignments in Ghana, in London, in Mexico. So Bobby's also well-traveled. And before this, he was a public school teacher in the Bronx in New York. So I'm going to shout out New York very quickly. I know probably there are a few of us with connections to New York. He holds a master's in teaching from Pace University and a bachelor's in education from Florida State University. And as you're hearing the connections, you'll see a lot of our panelists or speakers today, right? So there's a connection to teaching. There's a connection to sort of the public sphere. But really, really important to hear from the U.S. Embassy, because even though this program is free for participants, it's funded. The funding has to come from somewhere. And so really excited to have the U.S. Embassy in Kingston as a partner with us, and really just looking forward to the remarks from Bobby Adelson. So Bobby, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. You know, of course, you mentioned the embassy is way more than just visas. You talked about my time as a teacher, and it's kind of fun to come full circle. Education is important to like the core of my being, and so anytime that I can be a part of something that's educating others, it's always a fantastic privilege. So thank you, Sharika, and thank you to the other organizers as well as my fellow speakers for being here this morning for the launch of this great initiative. And it's my pleasure to be here on behalf of the embassy to talk with you about three very important issues: human rights, climate change, and our digital future, which is you know, the focus of this program. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken said last week that human rights are interdependent, and the deprivation of one right can cause the broader fabric of a society to fray. It is everyone's responsibility to protect these rights in our day-to-day lives in both the physical and digital world. In parallel, combating climate change is a top priority of the Biden administration. To echo the sentiments of the special presidential envoy for climate change, John Kerry, we have to be ambitious. Domestic action must go hand in hand with international leadership, all aimed at significantly enhancing global action. Together, we must meet the moment in order to put the world on a sustainable pathway. Finally, with the growing wealth of information on the internet, digital literacy is increasingly important, from education in school to business and economic opportunities to navigating our daily lives. As Jamaica positions itself to be a leader in the digital world, we all know that the leaders we train today will help shape the future of Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the world. As we seek to ensure that youth have access to the skills necessary to thrive in the digital world, to lead in the future, we must also make sure they have the tools necessary to protect themselves, their rights, and their planet. Though we may live more and more of our lives in the digital space, the issues of the physical world will not disappear. Issues of human rights, freedom, and dignity will remain of great importance to us all. Likewise, this planet will continue to be the only home that we have. We encourage growth and responsible use of skills to innovate, improve, and increase the financial benefits of related industries in these areas. Utilizing the skills gained and understanding of how issues like human rights and environmental protection are important to consider in this future we are creating as we move the world forward to equitable development outcomes. The U.S. mission to Jamaica is proud to provide an opportunity like this to engage Jamaican youth in a discussion and exploration of digital skills and human rights through this program. This creates a space for ideas and innovation to thrive. We look forward to seeing many of you in time becoming creators of development and human rights, enhancing digital practices. This is just a small step in the journey toward a great shared future that each of you can make better. Thank you all. Again, pleasure on behalf of the United States Embassy for joining us this morning. Thank you all who are taking that extra step to be a part of this program. You know, sometimes stepping outside of your shell is very, very difficult. At least for me, it always has been. And so when you take on a challenge that you might be afraid of at first, it really shows a lot of character. So thank you for taking part in this. Again, thank you, Sharika. Thank you to all the other organizers who helped put this on, and my fellow speakers for being here today.
Thank you, Bobby. Bobby, I'll say I'm slightly disappointed you didn't give New York a shout out.
Oh, let me tell you. So shout out to 120 in Lenox in Harlem, and shout out to the Bronx. That's where I taught MS 206. I was 22 years old. My students are like 30 or something now. So it was a little bit ago, but had a great time in New York. Love New York City. I wish it was warmer. As a Floridian, that's probably more of my core, which is why I'm here in Jamaica, which is fantastic. But yeah, shout out to New York. Big up New York.
We're happy to have you. So we're going to big up New York and Florida. All right. So Bobby touched on, some important things, the interconnectedness of what we're doing, right? And so he spoke about human rights being everybody's responsibility. And so I heard climate change, and I've always said to folks, we live on an island, we have to be concerned about what is happening, right? So we spoke about climate change, we spoke about human rights, and as I said earlier, being able to access and navigate this economy is an important part of human rights, right? But it doesn't stop there, and it's thinking about how you use these skills, as was said, to propel the next steps to create a more equitable society, for everyone. And then the digital literacy being sort of the level for all of that, right? Being able to, again, access and navigate the space, right? Bobby spoke about stepping outside of your shell and outside your comfort zone. And I love the quote, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." And so when I came out, I'll applaud you all again today for taking that step. And thank you, Bobby, for sharing your remarks. And for just, I think also, as I said, broadening the view, because I know for a lot of us, the US Embassy, especially here in Kingston, is synonymous with certain things. And so it's really also important to hear the work that's happening outside of that. So thank you once again for coming on as a funding partner and bringing greetings on behalf of the embassy. Right. So I'm going to move into, are there any pressing questions for Bobby, or do we want to go to the end? No visa questions. Okay. All right. All right. So Bobby, I guess we'll circle back with you at the end then. All right. So my next speaker, so you've heard a lot about, and I think Bobby was sort of a nice bridge between our earlier speakers and who's coming next, because we heard in our earlier speakers a lot about the digital skills and digital component aspect of this program. And then Bobby sort of helped to bridge sort of how everything is connected with the digital piece and the human rights piece. And our next speaker, Mrs. Samantha Chantrell, I think is also going to move us more into that advocacy space where we also look at how we put those skills into action, right? And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Samantha before she comes to the stage. So Mrs. Samantha Chantrell has over 25 years of experience in project development and management for the international donor partners, NGOs, and private sector foundations in Jamaica and the Caribbean, right? She has a depth of knowledge and experience in developing strategic results-based management frameworks. Samantha's her career growth includes the management of the USA Jamaica's program budget of over US 13 million. She has knowledge of most donor agency budgetary management, including the Canadian government, the European Union, the United National Development Program, the British government, UNICEF, Embassy of Japan. Can I say we're global here? Did I say that? We're talking about digital economy, but we're digital citizens and global citizens, right? And Samantha holds a BA in psychology. So I'm gonna give some love to the social science majors. There's one myself. And Samantha, as I said, wears a couple hats. You would have heard Mr. McDonald talk about change makers. Warren McDonald spoke about change makers and Respect Jamaica. And Samantha has what would I say? Feet in both places. But she is going to talk, I think, mainly from this perspective, Respect Jamaica today. And to kick off, I know there is a little video that she wanted to share just to expose us all to Respect Jamaica, and then she'll go into her remarks. So if I could have the tech team just cue up the video for Samantha, and then we will do that.
We want to build a children will not but flourish, and at the heart of growth is respect for all people. But respect is about treating others with the dignity they deserve. We love Jamaica, and because of this, we want to stand up and make the positive changes that we as leaders have the opportunity to do.
Do good, and good will follow you.
As industry leaders, we are very familiar with the link between social stability and economic growth. And this is where we can make great change. Change for us, for our employees, our customers, and the wider population who will all benefit from this commitment.
Empty bag can't stand up.
As proud Jamaicans, we expect respect, but respect flows from within. We will only truly earn respect when we learn to respect ourselves and those in our own community. So whether it is discrimination related to color, race, class, sexual orientation, those with special needs, the youth and elderly, as well as gender and politics, we believe that it is time to stand in support of the marginalized and vulnerable in our communities, whoever they may be.
Bucket with all a bottom have no business at Riverside.
We believe that everyone, no matter who they are, should be afforded the basic human right of respect. We believe it is time to stand in support of all in our communities, especially the marginalized and vulnerable. That means anyone and everyone, because we're looking to break down the barriers that issues like race, class, color, gender, sexual orientation, politics, special needs, or age, both young and old, can create.
You shake man hand, you not shake him heart.
This is about all of us treating all people how we ourselves wish to be treated.
We run things no run way.
The Planning Institute of Jamaica have a vision for the year 2030. And the vision is this, that Jamaica becomes a place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. We are committing to make a greater impact on Jamaica by helping to attain those goals, because Jamaica stands for respect.
Every man have to live. You can't hold me back or hurt me, because time and determination are on my side.
All right, great. So Samantha, do you want to come and just tell us a little bit about what we just saw and Respect Jamaica's role in this initiative?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Wanted to let you know that Respect Jamaica really started in 2014. It is a number of private sector companies. Hold on, I'm going to start my video. It's a number of private sector companies coming together around the issue of respect. That particular video doesn't speak about the environment, which was added after that intro video was done. But it is a program that I feel very passionately about. I'm big on human rights, and in complete was coming to my mind after that the U.S. Embassy Public Affairs had been a partner with Respect from as far back as 2015. It's funny that over the last year, working with Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, that we again came together to reinvigorate the program. The program is really about empowering primarily young people to become human rights advocates. We do training in community journalism, how to use the social media platform to bring across the messages and issues that are facing our young people are facing Jamaica from their perspective. We will be starting this aspect of our program in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be sending out applications for Respect Jamaica to become ambassadors. We invite all of you to come on board and join if this is something that holds your passion. But I think Mr. Adelson actually brought up something I think is very important. I think what has happened over the last year, seeing the COVID situation highlight some of the issues. It isn't just about getting skills, it's also about advocating for our rights. And I think Jamaica has always been a leader globally. And I think that this program, based on my experiences with our ambassadors, is also going to show the world how to do that even better. And again, I think the environment piece is so very critical. We worked out with JCC, Samir Yunus Foundation, 2 areas of focus for this program, which is going to be around gender issues as well as the environment. Those are 2 areas that they think of as being very critical. But we do see some of the other conflicts that have come out of the last year with rising crime. And those are things that I expect are going to be coming up with our ambassadors. The program is really led by our ambassadors on the topics that they wish to cover as well. So that will be a work in progress where we end up. And the other interesting piece is this is how all the partners have come together. When Professor McNaughton and I first sat down and he heard about Respect Jamaica, he wanted to speak about how we incorporate that into the digital program. And this is all before last year, March, where we went into what would be where we are now. So this is something that I think all the partners recognize is a critical piece to learning for our young people and where we want to see Jamaica's development go. So I do want to applaud everyone here for participating. And I expect that many of you are going to apply to the ambassador program. I'd like to definitely thank all our partners, the U.S. Embassy Public Affairs, Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Samir Yunus Foundation, CSOD, and Sharika, who's done an amazing job putting this all together. The only other thing I would add is that we do have Respect Jamaica is really run through our social media platforms outside of the training to spread the message and spread the word. So I'm going to ask our social media specialist, who's also online, to just put in the group chat the different platforms and how to get access, and ask all of you to go and join us and share the messages and participate as we move on over the next few months and into the future. And that's basically Respect Jamaica. I think the video tells you more than anything that I can say what we hope. I think there's another video that is more encompassing and brings it down to a level. So I will close off quickly, and if Sharika could just play that one as well. And then if you have any questions at the end, I would be happy to take them.
I respect my community.
I respect justice.
I respect the power of education.
I respect my family.
I respect my children.
I respect my teachers. And I respect my parents.
I respect life.
I respect our culture.
I respect Jamaica. I respect Jamaica. I respect Jamaica.
The Jamaican national anthem urges us, teach us true respect for all. This is the foundation of the Respect Jamaica program. Respect Jamaica is a multi-corporate initiative promoting the value of showing respect and good manners to all people as essential components of making Jamaica a better place. We encourage the inclusion of people of varying race, religion, class, sexual orientation, age, political affiliation, and special needs, as all are deserving of respect. We also extend to showing respect for our island home, respecting and protecting the environment. Respect is defined as the condition of being esteemed or honored. We believe that everyone should be afforded that basic right. Respect means simply saying good morning, holding and opening a door, saying please and thank you, as well as a larger picture of treating all people with due deference, speaking out against injustice and standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves. It is giving up a seat for an elderly person, calling out inappropriate behavior, and everything in between. Food, water, and shelter are what we Jamaicans depend on for our most basic needs. So, we must therefore have respect for the environment, as it is an essential part of our vision for Jamaica. Why respect Jamaica? It's time to take action. It's time to speak out and stand up in support of those who are marginalized and vulnerable, to make positive changes in our communities so our children will learn respect and give respect.
All right, Samantha, I don't know if you wanted to wrap.
No, I think that, yeah, that's it. I mean, I think that tells you really what we're about, and we ask you to follow us and join us in our journey and advocacy around the issues facing us today.
All right, thank you so much. And so folks, again, I hope you're hearing sort of the common themes that are coming out, right? So we're talking about respect for each other as a foundation to thinking about what it means for us to have, what does it mean to have human rights? What does it mean for us to care about the rights of each other? And then how do we equip ourselves to make the change that we want to see, not just in our lives, but in our wider community, in the wider Jamaica, right? There's a lot, because I even heard the climate and environment, the environment referred again here in the last video. So thinking about as you embark on these skills, some of you will go into traditional business, some of you will become entrepreneurs, some of you might be applying this to the area of agriculture, some of you might be applying this to the area of renewable energy, some of you might be applying this to figuring out how to curb or crime problem, some of you might be applying this to higher education, moving on. So there's so many ways that the skills that we hope that you'll take out of this program will go into building a better, more equitable society. Right? There is a principle that I love. In a sense, it comes down to my humanity is tied to yours. It's coming out of the Zulu tradition. But think about that as we're going through. So you're learning these skills. They're going to empower you, but it's empowering you, hopefully, to think about sort of the broader application for your own lives, but then also for the wider Jamaica, and for the partners that we have online, thinking about how we continue these conversations, we continue these opportunities, we continue these just again creating more access, through these programs and these initiatives for young at heart, to be able to navigate or changing world. All right, so I'm gonna save questions just in the interest of time till after our final speaker. And our final speaker he didn't want me to say too much about him. Very humble because I could brag about him all day. So his CV isn't as long, and that's only because, he hasn't necessarily been around as long as everybody else. But when I tell you about somebody who is passionate and dedicated to what they're doing. So our next speaker is Mr. Tyreek Welsh. He is a psychology student at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. He is also a former ambassador and a current change agent with Youth Can Do IT. And he was one of the facilitators of our very first program or pilot program that we also did with JCC. And now he's returned. And I think that should tell you a lot about him. Tyreek is passionate about I say young people, like Tyreek isn't a young person himself, but just passionate about youth development, passionate about seeing and helping people learn, passionate about having people unlock their own skills. And Tyreek hails from the beautiful, beautiful parish of Portland. So I'm going to stop speaking for him because, like I said, I could big him up all day because Tyreek is really phenomenal. But I'll let you hear that for yourself. So Tyreek, go ahead and just sort of talk to us about your own experience as a facilitator and what you have seen firsthand for how this program has impacted folks that you've worked with.
Thank you, Sharika. Hi, everyone. A pleasant morning to all the speakers and viewers of this launch. I am Tyreek Welsh. I was a facilitator of the JCC-SYF pilot group, and I'm back again as one of the facilitators of this current cohort. My experience as a facilitator of the pilot group was a rewarding one. Being able to participate in the growth and development of students not only impacted my life, but I was able to see where it positively impacted the lives of students. Back when we had to meet physically on Saturdays, I was able to see how enthused these students were to learn more about the data and data literacy. Some went ahead and completed modules, while some needed a bit of encouragement, but eventually they got there. I could see where it sparked new ideas in the minds of these students. Some started thinking about the current situation of data literacy. Some thought about problems they could solve, and another student even wanted to see how he could merge this knowledge with his interest in mechanical engineering. It was a wonderful experience. And even so, one of our students who was a part of the pilot group is now a facilitator of this current cohort. Yeah, man, this goes to show that the program is working and the community is growing. So why did I come back? I decided to participate as a facilitator because of the impact I saw, and also because of my current goal of impacting as much lives as I can throughout my time here on Earth. At the start of the first weekly session of each group I'm facilitating, I do an activity where I try to get an idea of everyone's visions and plans in 5 years' time and after this program. Doing this activity allows everyone to have an idea of an end goal and a motive to continue throughout the program. It also, in some way, makes the students somewhat accountable and aware of each other's goals. I also try to do this activity so that we can form a sense of community and develop a space where bonds and ideas can be shared. And I realize where there's community, growth thrives. And in the future, develop an interconnected community of data and digital literate stalwarts. So in ending, I charge facilitators with the task of creating a community, and to the students, the job of ensuring this community thrives and spreads beyond our 12 weeks together. Thank you for listening. And I do hope you have and enjoy the rest of the session.
Oh, a man of few but profound words. Thank you, Tyreek. Tyreek always, as he says, Tyreek always starts his session by motivating students and getting them to see what their end goal is and how to connect the dots. So folks, at this point, I just also want to just shout out the facilitators as a whole. you see, we've come full circle with our presentations. We started by talking about just the issue of, well, not the issue, but thinking about how digital skills are important to ensure that people don't fall into digital poverty, right? We then broaden beyond sort of the focus on individual students to focus on the digital skills courses, to think about sort of what the wider impact was, what it means to be an empowered person in this age, what it means to be thinking about connecting what we're learning to human rights and advocacy, right? How do we become advocates within our own space and within our own communities and with our own country, all right? And then coming back down to sort of, again, connecting back to the program, you know, each one, we're not leaving you by yourself. So coming back to the support that is embedded within this journey that you're about to embark on, right? So hopefully throughout this launch, you've gotten a vision of the big picture, but you're also comforted by knowing that with all the partners that we've heard from, with all the support you have, you recognize that this is a community. We're moving together as a community, and you also have the support of not just this community, but of your individual facilitators along this journey. So I hope that was clear. I'm going to open for Q&A, but I'm going to just do my thank yous very quickly because I know folks might have to jump off, and I want to make sure that I don't miss the opportunity to say thank you. So again, I want to thank the facilitators those who are here today and those who couldn't be here but who will be walking you through the journey. I want to thank you, the students, for showing up and continuing to engage in your groups and online on this path. I hope you're really excited about the journey that you're embarking on and excited about all the potential and the possibilities, not just for the skills that you will employ, but also for, sort of the larger vision of the impact on your community and on our country. So if you're excited, let me see some excitement in the chat, please. I just want to know, feel it out. All right, I also want to thank our wonderful tech team who's working behind the scenes. So I know Shane Thomas is here. I think Tanya Lee was on earlier. I know Lorenzo was on. Just wanted to big up the Mona School of Business and Management tech team. A lot of times we see things happening and they look seamless and we don't know the sweat and tears that go into it. So I want to big up the tech team that working behind the scenes. I want to thank very much our partners and our sponsors, some of whom you heard from today. So we want to thank the Mona School of Business and Management, and you heard from Dr. Maurice McNaughton. So we thank him for his time and for his remarks. We want to thank the JCC-SYF Foundation, and you heard from Mr. Warren McDonald, who also just brought us through sort of the life cycle of the foundation and what they've accomplished over its time in existence. We want to thank Mr. Bobby Adelson, coming from New York and Florida to be with us here in Jamaica, and to really just expand sort of what our knowledge and our perception of the embassy is, to remind us again about the focus of, he succinctly put it, climate change, human rights, and digital skills. So we want to thank him for his time. We want to thank Mrs. Samantha Chantrell, who brought greetings on behalf of Respect Jamaica. I think there's information for the group in the chat, so please go ahead, because again, this is a community. And so people are asking what next. You're going to do the courses and think about how you use these skills to impact not just your life, but your broader surroundings. I want to thank Mr. Tariq Welch, who so eloquently spoke on behalf of our facilitators, and again, gave you just line of sight into what the support is that you'll receive as you go through this course or as you go through this program. So I want to thank everybody. And I want to know, one more plug before I open up to questions. We still have some slots, as you heard mentioned, our target is 80 students. So Shana, one of my colleagues, Shana K. Kamak, is going to just drop the link to the registration in the chat. So for anybody who is still interested in, or you have friends or peers or colleagues who you want to be a part of this program, who you want to be a part of the change that we're talking about, who you want to be a part of this conversation about digital skills and advocacy, please have them sign up there. All right, so I'm going to pause here now just to invite any questions before we close out. Let me see. Not seeing any questions in the chat. So that must mean that our presenters were incredibly clear. So just again, are folks excited for what they've heard today? All right, wonderful. I'm seeing some excitement in the chat. So again, if you're excited for what you heard today, for those of you who've already gotten a taste of the program, please spread the word. We're going to be checking up on you because we want to know what you're doing. We want to know what you're building. We want to know how you are putting the skills that you're learning here into use in another 3 months, in another year, in another, as Tyreek said, 5 years down the line. All right, but this is a community. So just want to thank, okay, I have a question before I close up. Go ahead. Is it Shadane? Shadane Campbell, you had a question? All right. So I just want to thank folks again. I'm seeing a lot of big up in the chat. So thank you to the presenters. If you check the chat, folks were really just impressed with your presentations. The program is 12 weeks or 3 months. All right. So see that question. All right, great. So if there are no other questions, thank you so much for giving up some of your Tuesday to be with us. Thank you again to our presenters, the team behind the scenes. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Take care.